Next we have 2013-2014 budget review and possible consideration to defease up to $750,000 of long-term debt. We sort of talked about this before. I don't know if it was at the Board Academy, but I know the picture keeps changing, but Mr. Gorder will bring us up to date.
Try to get it up here. Move around a little bit freely. I put together many documents. I put them out on the web on Friday. I looked at them, thought about them over the weekend, and if you weren't thoroughly confused, if you looked at them by then, because I was, it just really wasn't working for me. So I put together another document today that kind of consolidates everything to make it hopefully a little bit more user-friendly or readable to understand. And I'd start with the first conversation based on 2013-14, and we're going to jump between 13-14 and 14-15 because what we decided 13-14 is going to impact 14-15. And basically what you have here in yellow highlighted, if I can get them up here, in this very line would be the levy for 11-12, the levy for 12-13, and proposed levies for 13-14 as of the annual meeting. Proposed levy without the additional aid, and basically this is what we were looking at before the governor said here's additional $100 million. Okay, and over the course of 2 years. And then you have over here with the additional aid, and then finally this last bracket over here is with the additional aid and also defeasing approximately $580,000 of debt so the district can realize additional state aid in 14-15 and also save approximately $100,000 on the life of that debt that we have there. So we'll move down a little bit. Any questions up to this point? Everybody kind of understands the different brackets. Annual meeting without the additional aid that the governor proposed, with the additional aid, and then with the aid and the defeasance.
And to be clear, that 100 million.
Really
To be clear, that 100 million was not coming to the Toma district. It was to be spread
across the state of Wisconsin.
The state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, and we'll look at how it affects us, and it is over the course of 2 years. And what you're seeing here is either 40 million of that in the first year or 60 million. This next line, what you're looking at here are equalized values. Again, you can see this is what we had at the annual meeting. We weren't estimating any increase in equalized values, and since that we received about an 8% increase in equalized values, and that's represented in all three scenarios here. If we move down a little bit further, we're starting to look at now basically a mill rate analysis and what that means. So the bottom line is, again, with these different scenarios, you're looking at the annual meeting, we presented a budget with on $1,000, $8.94 for the mill rate, or on $100,000, $894. That has since was revised when we got the update on the equalized values, which dropped that projected mill rate to $8.38 or $838 on $100,000 of property value. With the governor's additional dollars, that further dropped that mill rate to $8.28 or $828 on $100,000. Now, we've been talking in the last at the Special Board Finance Committee, at the board retreat, and tonight. And again, we're not making decisions tonight, but we're just talking about these different scenarios. We could look at any one of these, any one of these three scenarios as potential. We're recommending, however, that we look at this last scenario that would allow us to defease about $580,000. And again, what that means is when you're defeasing is that we would purposely levy additional dollars in Fund 39 for approximately $580,000 to make the final payment on our debt service payment, I believe in 2022 or thereabouts, and we can look at the document and get that exactly, and then a portion of the second to the last payment. What that does for us, it saves us approximately $100,000 in debt service and interest costs. So That money gets put in an escrow account when that becomes due, and that the year that it's due, that money is taken out of the escrow account and it's paid off, but we get to save the interest on those dollars. So that's where we're seeing the savings. Also, we have to know, and this will become a little bit more clear on the next slides, or the next shot here, and we'll just focus on 1314, page down. Pretty simple stuff some days. When we look at 1314, we have some different scenarios. This is without defeasance or a referendum. So we're looking at 1314. Again, this is with the governor's additional dollars, a mill rate at about $8.28 or $828 per 100,000. So, you know, if you decide not to defease, this is where the levy is going to end up, thereabouts. Of course, we don't have the final dollars, but that's what we'll be looking at, somewhere in the ballpark there. So then if we look at with defeasance and no referendum, again, what we're doing is we're adding approximately $580,000 of debt on Fund 39, additional dollars in debt, which is going to increase the mill rate to $8.69. That's still a 10-cent decrease, and that's what the governor was projecting, a 10-cent decrease or a $10 decrease on $100,000. Not only is it saving that $100,000, approximate $100,000 for defeasing it and then paying that debt off early, but we have to look at what it does, and that's what we're looking at 1415 to our equalized aid that we get from the state of Wisconsin. Because what happens, we've talked about this also, is when you have increased equalized values and declining enrollment, and it was mentioned in the paper, you start to look property rich. It doesn't mean we're property rich, it just starts in the aid formula. We call it property rich. Just if that's inverse, where you have decreasing equalized values and increasing enrollments, you look property poor. The right balance is to have equalized values and increasing enrollment, so that they kind of offset each other, and there's not a real dramatic effect either way on the state formula fund. But unfortunately, that's not where we're at. So by levying those additional dollars, because remember, this is up here, if we looked at the top up here, where I think it said no referendum without defeasing on that, it said on top there. So we're not defeasing these dollars up here. So in 1415, our mill rate would go to $8.51. Okay. When we look with a defeasance and no referendum, you can see you're saving about 6 cents or $6 because of the additional state aid that you're getting. And I just looked at it today, and just estimates show that we're getting about $84,000 in additional state aid. So there's really two compelling reasons why you would look at defeasing. One is it makes smart. If you're able to, you always want to pay debt off, save that interest expense. That would be one way of looking at it. So we want to save that expense. The other way is we want to maximize our aid, and we're able to do that because we're spending those dollars. It gets included into the aid formula, so it picks up, gives us a little help the following year when we're looking at state aid in 1415. So, do you have any questions?
Yeah, which one do you prefer?
You know, I guess, you know, when we look at the big picture of this, I think from a fiscal point of view, that, you know, if we can defease those dollars and save that $100,000 in the long run, that makes sense. It also makes sense when you're looking at your state aid projections to look at the following year to see what that's going to do, and it makes sense to save, again, some additional dollars. Because what you start to see as you push out farther, it's really only in the next 2 years is that going to have a major impact. The rest of it then, as we look and go forward, is going to still be determined on what do equalized values do, what does your enrollment do, and are you able to go to a referendum and successfully pass a referendum.
And Mr. Gordy, the one reason, you know, to look at defeasing, and the reason we can do it this year, is because we did get that bump in equalized value out there, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's really a one-time bump we're going to get because of the increase?
Well, it's in, we're, again, let me get my bearings here. I don't know that we can really see it on this particular slide. But what is going to happen, because we have, we look property rich, really, we're getting about $18.5 million or thereabouts in state aid. This year, actually, it's $18,123,000 or whatever. Next year, we're going to lose about $1.2 million in state aid. Okay, so it helps us to, by getting those equalized values, we then are able to absorb that additional Fund 39 payment without making that levy go up. Again, we're still saving or reducing the levy by about 10 cents or $10 per 100,000. Now keep in mind, one thing that's not showing up in this, we are dropping off a debt service payment. But all that savings, we had projected, I think back in January when we talked about the shortfalls when we were looking at our finances, and we'll talk about that when we get into 14-15, but when we look at those shortfalls, this 14-15 would have been a perfect year because you would have dropped off, I believe, about $750,000 of debt. Well, we're dropping off $750,000 of debt, but that 1.2 million, again, either one model that you look at is still driving up the mill rate. So you're not getting enough offset on that. So, and that's simply because their equalized values and their declining enrollment makes us look, again, property rich. Hope I'm explaining that well enough.
Are you hoping for a motion for the defeasance for tonight, or do you
we will
need
look at that again.
another
So
meeting?
we at our next meeting when we set the levy, but I wanted to make sure that you as a board are comfortable with the idea and that you understand the idea and that we're able to talk about it if we need to. So, questions? I forget what we're even putting so many finance things on here.
So again, without defeasance, from last year to this year on 100,000, they'd be going from 879 to 828. With the defeasance, they're going from that 879 to 869. And as I understand it, on $100,000. As I understand it, the projections from the governor's office was that this taxpayer relief should equate to about $10 for taxpayers. So it works out.
Yeah. That's what the Wisconsin Taxpayers Alliance is showing it, but we'll have to wait and see how all that comes together. Usually they're pretty close.
So we're able to even with the defeasance, try to provide that tax relief that the governor was trying to pass along.
Yes. Yes. So when we look at that defeasance model a little bit closer, and again we'll come back to this final scenario when we get to the 14-15 page down. Simple concept. A little different scenario. I think the last scenario we looked at about approximately 650,000. This model looks at about 580,000 or slightly more. And you can see over this, and again, this isn't final yet, we can see the savings over here from the defeasance of $103,000 as estimated at this point in time. Those documents would be finalized in April. So you just need to approve it on the tax levy when you set that at our special board meeting.
Okay. Do we need to set that meeting? No.
Yeah, that's another agenda item on there. You can do it now if you want to, I guess it doesn't.
Okay. Anything else with respect to the defeasance issue? So it's sort of tied to the next item. Do you want to just
G.
roll into G?
Yeah, just simply, we're not unable to set the levy tonight. I don't think we would have been able to do it anyways. It just, I think you're having a special board meeting next Wednesday, is it? Or is it
Yes,
this?
both this Wednesday and next Wednesday.
And next Wednesday. What is next Wednesday then?
Another special.
No, I mean, what is the date?
30th,
30th,
23rd and the 30th.
23rd and 30th. They are supposed to have this information available by the 23rd of October. When I talked to them, though, they said to set the meeting for the following week, like the November 1st. Or thereabouts.
I think there's been an extension to November 6th,
Yeah,
Act 46, so you have until November
to
6th.
set the levy. But we would prefer to set it right away as soon as we can during the week of,
The 28th?
yeah, probably the 4th, week of Monday the 4th.
We have a board academy that night.
So that would be a good night to set the levy, have a
First
meeting before it. It gives me plenty of time, gives us plenty of time still to get the, I think you still have to have the levy certified in the municipalities. You have to set the levy by the 6th, but then you have to have them certified by to the levies by the municipalities by the 12th.
So we'll do that at the academy on the 4th.
Let's add that to the agenda.
Okay. What was the item for that academy? Do you remember? Just curious.
I don't think we've actually decided yet.
Oh. Okay. We had a
No,
list
it's
of...
been budgeting and referendum until we
Yeah.
get through all of that. So,
You had a list of
Yes.
proposed subjects, but we had not actually, we decided, I guess, to have some flexibility not to assign those to specific dates. Okay, so you'll decide
It might be good to be able to share with you what the plans will be for the Department of Defense grant at that, in terms of how we plan on spending that. The rolling out thing through math at the middle school and then the
At the
strategic
next when?
academy.
Still got a lot of budget stuff as far as planning for referendum and things like that.
Yeah.
If you're going to.
All right, well, you two, can I sort of discuss the agenda for that
Okay.
as needed? I'm sure there will be a lot of financial matters to discuss. So does that pretty much deal with item G?
Yep.
Greg? Again, we're waiting for final numbers, and then we'll decide at the academy on the 4th? Is that the
Yeah.
date? To actually set the levy and decide formally on the defeasance issue.
What time is the meeting?
6:30?
Are you going to do the levy meeting at 6:30 too, or you going to try to do that all at once?
That can just be part of the meeting, yeah. So we'll put that as one of the agenda items and then,
Yeah, because we're not only are we going to set the levy, but you're going to go through kind of a mini annual meeting where we're going to review the changes to the,
okay.
so, that's going to gobble up some time, I'm sorry.
Well, we'll just have the academy be that.
That's fine. It's
And
important.
referendum.
It needs to be done,
Yeah.
it's important.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So that's fine.
And when you say referendum, it's really 2014 through 17 planning, fiscal planning.
Okay. Any other questions then concerning those items?